You're trying to find a water tank that won't turn your workday upside down, something you can bolt to the back of a truck, trust to hold a solid load, and not have to worry about leaks or rust after a few weeks on the road. The hesitation is real. A cheap tank might crack when you hit a bump, a fancy one could be over-engineered and cost way more than you need, and a mid-range option sometimes ends up being a compromise that leaves you buying accessories you didn't plan for. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what the Dee Zee DZ91753 106-gallon rectangle transfer tank actually offers in the field, and whether it lands in the sweet spot of reliability, ease of use, and value. First off, the biggest worry people have with aluminum tanks is corrosion. A lot of transfer tanks out there are steel-based and need regular treatment, especially if you're hauling chemicals, fuel, or even just fresh water in humid climates. This Dee Zee model uses 0.125-inch bright tread aluminum, which the manufacturer says is non-rusting. In practice, that means you can park under a rainstorm or load up a wet load without seeing the first sign of oxidation for years. For anyone who spends a lot of time on the road, whether you're a contractor moving water to job sites, a farmer needing to transport irrigation water, or an off-road enthusiast who likes to bring a fresh water supply for camping, the resistance to rust is a major win. It also spares you the extra maintenance step of applying a protective coating, saving both time and money over the life of the tank. The shape of the tank matters more than most people think. The rectangle L design is optimized for truck beds, and the mounting tabs are built right into the frame. That means you can line it up with the existing rails of a standard pickup and bolt it down without fabricating custom brackets. I've seen people try to retrofit square tanks into the same space, and they end up fighting with the tank's corners that dig into the bed or cause uneven weight distribution. With the Dee Zee, the rectangular footprint spreads the weight evenly across the bed, which helps maintain handling and reduces stress on the suspension. If you already have a bed that's been reinforced for heavy loads, those tabs make the installation straightforward, just a couple of bolts and you're set. For a hobbyist who only occasionally needs a water tank, that extra effort of drilling and welding might feel like overkill, and a smaller portable option could be a better fit. One of the subtle but practical design choices is the radius curve at the tank's corners. Traditional welded aluminum tanks can develop stress points where the welds meet the sheet metal, especially if you're loading and unloading frequently. Those stress points can eventually lead to cracks, which in a transfer tank could mean a sudden loss of fluid and a mess to clean up. The radius curve on this Dee Zee model eliminates those pressure points, effectively smoothing out the stress distribution. In real-world use, that translates to a longer service life, especially if you're shuffling the tank in and out of the bed often. It's not something you notice on day one, but over months of heavy use, the absence of cracks becomes a clear advantage. The inclusion of a cap and coupler for venting is another practical aspect that often gets overlooked. When you fill a 106-gallon tank, air has to escape. Otherwise, you'll create a vacuum that makes filling slower and can even cause the tank walls to flex. The venting system built into this Dee Zee model ensures that air can flow out freely while keeping contaminants out. I've watched a friend fill his tank with water at a construction site where dust is everywhere thanks to the vent. The water sloshes in without the dreaded gurgling sound of pressure building up, and the cap keeps the dust out. If you're using the tank for chemicals that need to be kept sealed, you'll want to double-check the vent's sealing capabilities, but for water, fuel, or other standard liquids, the system works as advertised. Now let's talk about the volume. At 106 gallons, you're looking at roughly 400 liters of capacity. That size hits a sweet spot for many trades. It's large enough to keep a small crew hydrated, to refill a portable pressure washer a few times, or to transport a modest amount of fuel for a generator. At the same time, it's not so massive that it dominates the entire bed and leaves no room for tools or cargo. If you're a mobile car wash service, you might find you need a bigger tank to stay efficient, whereas a landscaping crew that just needs a water source for a day's work will find this capacity more than sufficient. The key is matching the tank size to the typical load you expect to carry. Buying a 200-gallon tank when you only need 80 gallons ends up being wasteful, both in purchase price and in the extra weight you're hauling around.